Welcome to today's episode. We're diving deep into one of the most profound and challenging stories from the Bible, the story of Job. It's a tale of suffering, perseverance, and ultimately faith.
Absolutely. Job's story is intense, right? He starts off as a man who seems to have everything: wealth, family, respect. But then all of a sudden, everything is stripped away from him. And this isn't just some bad luck. There's something much deeper at play here.
Right? And it all starts in the land of Uz, where Job lives a blameless life, revered by everyone. He even takes great care to make offerings for his children, just in case they've sinned. Job's the kind of guy who seems to have everything in order, morally, spiritually, financially.
Then out of nowhere, we see a strange conversation happening in the heavenly realms. God and Satan are having a back and forth about Job. God's like, "Have you considered my servant Job? There's no one like him." But then Satan challenges God, suggesting that Job is only faithful because he's been blessed so much.
That's the turning point, isn't it? God allows Satan to test Job, but with one condition: he can't harm Job's body. Satan, however, is not one to back down, and that's where the chaos begins.
Exactly. First, Job loses all his livestock: 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 oxen. His wealth vanishes in the blink of an eye. And just when it seems like the worst has passed, more bad news comes in. His children? They're dead. A house collapses on them during a feast.
It's so overwhelming, isn't it? I mean, can you imagine one tragedy after another? But what's remarkable is Job's response. Instead of cursing God, he falls to the ground and worships. His famous line, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return."
That's incredible, honestly. He doesn't seem to blame God, even though his world has literally fallen apart. It's a test of faith like no other. And even though we know it's not just a random sequence of bad events, Job doesn't know that. He's left wondering, why did this happen to him?
And it's here that his suffering really begins to show its depth. Job doesn't just mourn the loss of his wealth or children, he questions the very purpose of his existence. He curses the day he was born. He says, "Why did I even have to live if I was just going to suffer this much?"
That's one of the most raw and emotional parts of the whole story. Job's not just asking, why me? He's questioning everything, existence itself. I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? When life feels unbearable, it's natural to wonder if it would have been better not to have lived at all.
Totally. And this is where the story starts to take another turn. Job's three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, show up to comfort him. They sit with him for 7 days without speaking, just sharing his grief. But once they do speak, things get complicated.
Right? They try to make sense of Job's suffering, but in a way that's almost unhelpful. Eliphaz, for example, argues that suffering must be a result of sin. In his view, bad things don't happen to good people unless they've done something wrong.
It's the classic "you reap what you sow" argument, right? Eliphaz tells Job, "Remember who has ever perished being innocent?" He's essentially saying that Job must have done something wrong, and that's why he's facing all this.
But Job, understandably, rejects this idea. He insists he hasn't done anything wrong. And honestly, this highlights a common struggle in the face of suffering. People often feel the need to explain why something bad happens. But sometimes, like in Job's case, there's no clear reason. It's just suffering.
Exactly. And I think Job's response is so important. He doesn't simply accept his friend's explanations. He doesn't stay silent. He keeps questioning, searching for meaning. That's what makes his journey so relatable. He refuses to just accept it's part of God's plan without understanding why.
And we can't forget that Job's personal faith doesn't waver. Even as his body is covered in painful sores and his wife urges him to curse God and die, Job remains steadfast. He says to her, "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" His response to suffering, though painful, is incredibly profound.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful moment in the story. Job's not saying that suffering is good, but he's acknowledging that life isn't just about receiving blessings. He's not just in it for the good times. His faith seems to be in something deeper than his circumstances.
It really challenges the way we view suffering, doesn't it? We often see suffering as a punishment or as something that shouldn't happen to good people. But Job's story suggests that suffering isn't always about punishment or a lack of faith. Sometimes it's just a part of life, a part of the human experience.
That's such an important point. And even as Job continues to question and mourn, he doesn't lose his ability to trust. There's a lot of tension between faith and suffering, and Job shows us that both can coexist, sometimes in the most difficult of ways.
Exactly. And Job's story doesn't just end with him questioning everything. It evolves as he continues his dialogue with his friends, as well as with God. It's a long process of spiritual growth, and ultimately God answers Job, but not in the way Job expects. God doesn't give a simple answer to his suffering. Instead, God responds by questioning Job, pointing out that Job, as a mere human, cannot understand the full scope of divine wisdom.
And that's where things get interesting. God doesn't say, "Here's why you suffered." He challenges Job, reminding him of the vastness of creation and the limits of human understanding. Job finally acknowledges this, saying, "I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me to know."
It's a powerful moment of humility. Job realizes that he doesn't have all the answers, and that's okay. And in that moment of humility, God restores him. Job's fortunes are reversed, and he's blessed even more than before. But what's most striking is that Job's faith, despite everything, has been purified through the fire of suffering.
It's a beautiful ending, really. Job's story isn't just about losing everything and getting it all back. It's about finding faith even in the darkest moments and realizing that our understanding of the world and God is limited.
Definitely. And Job's journey is one that resonates across time. It's not just a lesson for those in ancient times, but for all of us facing our own struggles. It teaches us that sometimes the answers we're looking for might not come immediately or at all, but faith can still thrive in the absence of understanding.
Well, that's all for today's deep dive into Job. It's a story that offers a lot to reflect on. Do you think you could handle the kind of suffering Job went through?
Honestly, I don't know, but I think it's important to remember that Job's story isn't just about suffering. It's about how we respond to it, with faith, with questions, and sometimes with silence.
Very true. Let's leave our listeners with that thought. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care, everyone. Stay strong and keep questioning.